Okay, thanks for joining us for BCom to Business Systems, How I Hacked a Career in Tech Startups. This track is sponsored by Root. A reminder to ask your questions on Slido in room session 2 ECS 125. The event code is #StartupSlam 2018. Your speaker today is Olynyk. As the marketing automation specialist at Sendwithus, Eve is focused on automating complex processes, optimizing productivity, managing vendors, and keeping prospect data clean and secure. Eve gained first-hand startup experience with co-ops and work experience at TD Bank, the Viatech Startup Accelerator Program, and through founding a startup herself while studying abroad in China. Excuse me. In 2017, Eve graduated from the BCom program at UVic with a specialization in entrepreneurship and a certificate in Chinese language and culture. Please welcome her for BCom to Business Systems, How I Hacked a Career in Tech Startups.
Thank you. Just a second. You got it. Sweet, yeah. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoy this talk. I sort of think of it, I loved Veronica's talk earlier. She's someone who I would love to be. But I would think of this talk as, if Veronica's talk was, here's a career path you can have in product ownership and working in tech startups, my talk is more about how you can get that first one. So it really is designed towards students or people who are recent grads. If you're not, that's totally cool. I love it. It's glad that you guys are here. But that's sort of what I've written this towards. And I have made it a bit niche. So I have made it a bit tailored to maybe you want this particular type of role. And I wanted to do that so you had some hard skills to take away. So definitely in the Q&A period or any time during the presentation, if you have talks about like, hey, how could I relate this to something different, please ask them. I also have some swag to give away. So again, I really prefer if this is like conversational. I think it's really fun. So if you're engaged and you're asking questions during the talk and presentation, I want that. So I also have those shirts. If you're more shy, again, we will be doing the Slido questions at the end, and I'll save some stuff for that time. Okay, any questions before I get started? No? Okay, awesome. So let's jump in. Okay, this is what I'm going to cover. I already mentioned it. Basically, the overview is kind of what do I do now? Similar to Veronica's role, people typically don't know what my job is when I say what my title is. People get very surprised and very confused, and this happens across the board. It's a very weird role, which we'll go into, and so I think that'll make more sense as time goes on. Okay, we're also going to talk about the journey. So it was definitely a huge amount of luck for me to make my way into this role. But it was also largely strategic in terms of what type of opportunities I looked for and where I invested my time and my energy. So yeah, probably like many of you, if you're still students, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I still know about 10% of what I want to be when I grow up. So some strategies around figuring that out, figuring out what you're actually passionate about, and then some hard skills. So if you are maybe wrapping up your university degree, or you've recently graduated and you're looking to make that career path entrance, what can you learn that is really demanded by the job market right now? Again, for like a business role in a tech startup in Victoria, very contextualized. Okay, first question I have is, who are you people? So I have a Slido quiz here. So if you guys want to go to Slido and fill in the poll for our session, I'm going to go here, I think. Okay, I don't know how to get to the poll. We'll figure it out. Is it live? There we go. Okay. So please go ahead, enter in your answer here into the Slido presentation. Okay, awesome. Results coming in, I'm loving it. Okay, so it looks like we probably have most of the participants in the room. So most of you are something else than what I put here. So someone who put this as an answer, let me know what you guys do. Like, are you students? Are you professionals? What are you studying? What are you working in? Anyone? Yes?
First year computer engineering student.
Cool. Okay, so you are a CS student then.
No, I'm not a computer science student.
Okay, well, engineering, okay, I'll take that. Again, business background, so like it kind of all blends together. Other responses? Yes?
High school student.
Cool, awesome. Do you know if you want to go into more business side or more engineering side?
More engineering.
Cool. Awesome. Anyone else? Yes?
I'm a high school student. I'm currently building in nanotechnology.
Cool. Very cool. Yes?
Also a high school student, but working on boarding services and technology.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so it sounds like we do have a very technical room, so I will try and sort of speak to that as well. My role is quite technical, although it isn't a developer role. I think that's very interesting. And actually a lot of people who are in my role are from a technical background. So they did CS, or they did engineering, or they did different ways, because the software that we use in our role is extremely complex. And with large organizations, they have developers and technical architects and things like that just for different parts of the softwares that I use. Okay, moving along. Sweet. So yeah, again, what the hell do I do for work? So my title is Marketing Automation Specialist. Does anyone here know what that is, like off the top of your head? No? Okay, right? What does that do? So basically, I started out as an SDR, a sales development rep. So I was trying to go and I was trying to generate new business for the company I work for. And that transitioned into creating email drips. So people didn't have to manually go and do that themselves and go and create an email, hit send, because usually you're trying to do this for a wide net of people. So I started out building these drips and saying, okay, we're going to send this email, it's going to happen at this time, a week later, we're going to send another one. And it slowly has expanded to having a portfolio of systems that I support and supporting multiple teams and making sure that they can operate really well. And to me, that's much more exciting because it has aspects of product ownership, has aspects of project management. I do some coding sometimes. It works with the sales and marketing team, seeing what the funnel is like. So it's really interesting for me to be able to be involved in all these different areas. Okay, I'm going to get into this more. I don't think that was maybe completely explicitive of what I do, but it's a background. Okay, as I said, I am in a technical role, but I'm not a developer. Some people who work with the softwares that I use are developers. I'm not. I had a business degree. I work with the marketing team, but I also support sales, and I also work with the other teams quite a lot. This means I'm uniquely positioned to see what the company really needs, or what the teams need. So where Veronica, if you remember her keynote, she's trying to see what do the users need? How can we make money off of our users? How can we support them? How can we interact with them? I have similar aspects to that, but it's all with internal teams. All right. Yeah, so basically, I'm trying to figure out how to automate processes to save time. That's like those emails, and getting the good, correct customer engagement out of them. It's figuring how to create stories out of data, so you have all these different fields you can report on what's actually the things you want, what will give us those KPIs. It's figuring out how to decipher what people need from what they want. So 90% of my job is someone says, hey, Eve, I want this field. And I'm like, but do you? And they're like, no, what I really want is to be able to not have to click a bunch of times to see my account record, to see how much money I'm going to make next quarter. I just want to see it. So I need a field, but there's often better ways to do that. That's known as user requirements gathering, side note. And yeah, it's figuring out how to keep the systems alive. So if our sales and marketing teams can't operate on the systems that we have for them, we can't make money. And that kind of is important for a startup. Okay. Again, how did I get here? So looking in that career path, maybe you're in high school and you're trying to figure out what's your university strategy. Maybe you're in university, you're trying to figure out breaking in. I started off because I had really grand ideals in first year. Yeah, don't recommend it. I'm kidding. No, grand ideals are good. You should always do it. I wanted to start a website matching services to nonprofit organizations, and I figured I had no money, so I couldn't buy someone to do it. I couldn't pay someone. So like, I would build it myself, because how easy could it be to make a web app, right? Has anyone tried to make a web app? And like, yeah, right? Yeah, so that was not a good idea. But as a result, I joined the UVic Web Dev and Design Club. And I loved it. It was so amazing. People were working on all these excited things, and they were so jazzed up about it. And I got to talk to people and see what they were interested in. And so I really loved the club. I didn't love programming all day, though. So CS was not for me. Although I did genuinely consider it, I considered switching into computer science and actually making that my degree, because I was like, I love tech so much. And I thought that was your tech roles, you know? That was it. That's what you got. You either worked in business for like IBM or something, well, that's tech company, but you know, tech startup, or you were a developer. Actually, side note as well, the company that I now work for is Sendwithus. They're amazing. Our CEO was there. So when the company was a year old, they actually sponsored one of the UVic Web Dev Club's hackathons. And so that's how I got to meet Matt and Brett. They don't remember me at the time because I sucked. That picture is not mine. That's something that somebody who is actually good at programming built, who also went on to work with Sendwithus. So I guess the moral of the story here is like, join hackathons because they're helpful for getting you jobs, even if your founders don't know it yet. Yeah, I really loved meeting all the people there. And I also realized that, as I said, I sucked. Like, I was terrible. But like, it's kind of okay to be shitty in tech and in startups and in Victoria. The community is supportive. And what they care about is if you're interested and if you're engaged and if you're asking questions. So when I was talking to Matt, and Sendwithus was a year old, I was like, why are you doing this? Why are you building this company? What's the purpose of email? Who needs triggered emails? And I learned that, thankfully. Okay. At the same time, I also joined a bunch of other things. So I think there's a lot of emphasis when you're going into university to focus on your degree. So like for the high school students in the room, it is important, as Veronica said, to get good grades. But join whatever you're interested in. Join everything. Do everything. And then whittle it down a lot because you'll get really burned out. You don't want to stick doing everything forever. But yeah, I joined these things. This is what I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. Pretty much everything here has been useful in my career at some point or the other. I've never regretted joining one of these clubs. Some more than others, some have been more useful, but overall, try and get as a broad array of connections as possible, because they're going to be the people who you relate to, who you go climbing with, who will introduce you to other people who are helpful for you down the road. Okay. So again, I tried to figure out what I like to do. I'm still working on it, but I liked working with tech, kind of. And I like talking to people about their interests. What do you like doing? So I figured maybe sales would be cool because you're just talking to people all the time and making money from it. I liked working and learning about other cultures. So what's the human side of thing? Why do people in China do things differently than we do here? Where can I be creative? Where can I have a big impact? And where can I learn constantly? So where is a career in which I'm always being forced to learn a new skill? Maybe it's communication skills, but more likely maybe it's technical skills that relate to what I'm interested in, which is I did a business degree. So how does it relate to the business side of things? Okay. In tandem with trying to figure that out, I wanted to figure out how to get good at interviewing. And so I got a co-op with TD Bank in their co-op department in recruitment. So this was in corporate office in TD on the 65th floor of TD Tower. So it was really exciting. I wore suits every day. Realized that wasn't for me, but it was cool at the time. I did a lot of scheduling and I shortlisted resumes. So I looked through hundreds and hundreds of resumes from Waterloo, from Guelph, some from UVic, not as many as I would have liked to see, but tons of resumes, and saw what was good about them and what worked and which resumes made it to the final stages and which kind of interview techniques made it to the final stages. I have some advice for you on my takeaways on good resumes, and it really does apply to the situation you're in. So it might not apply to a big corporate gig necessarily, but generally, I would say all of these points apply. This is what employers will look for, even if they don't know it. They'll also look for a lot of other things, who you are, cover letter, but this is a really good start if you don't know. Okay, percentages. Do you guys know why it's beneficial to use a hard number on a resume instead of like, I was good at X? Yeah. Yes, t-shirt. What is your t-shirt? Small, okay, I have a small here. That is totally true. It puts it in context, right? So if an interviewer is looking at 10 different resumes and they're trying to figure out who is the best person for the position, right? And you have 5 people who say, yeah, of course I'm good at Excel, but one person who says, I actually increased this much time. That gives them context for like, hey, this is why this person would win out over this person. Don't inflate your numbers. That's a terrible idea, but be honest with them. And if it's not as good as you want it to be, you can put it in perspective too and be like, I did 20%, but our conditions were horrible. We were going through a big organizational change, whatever. You can put it in context. Hard numbers, overall, I would say are always better. Of course, this doesn't work for everything, but generally, this is free. I'll leave that there. Okay. Other idea. So Eileen kind of mentioned this. Sometimes you have imposter syndrome. It's terrible, especially I would say if you're young or if you're maybe from a marginalized group. So one thing I did is I have a sheet that I keep and I copy and paste every nice thing people say about me in terms of my work specifically. Not like you look great, Steve. Thank you. No, but I copy and paste this. So if they're like, hey, you did an awesome job on that project, you did it so quickly and efficiently, I keep all this. And then I'll paraphrase it and add that into my cover letters. Or I'll just look at it when I'm having, a less than great day. Not that my days are always awesome. No, they're always awesome. It's all good. Okay, yes, design and format does matter. If you're going for a more classic conservative institution like a bank, you're going to have a classic and conservative resume style. If you're going for a startup, they might want to see where's your creativity showing. So like, what makes you you? What makes you stand out? And it doesn't have to be like totally out there. You don't have to use like a circle instead of a rectangular piece of paper. But keep it within reason here. But you can actually do some fun things with this. You can make it more unique. I don't like pictures on resumes ever, unless you're in Europe. They do that for some reason, but generally just don't do it. And yeah, the keywords thing. This is the thing that surprised me the most. Large organizations, and I think small organizations without knowing it, will look for keywords. So say you're applying for a startup and they work with distributed marketing. There's actually a lot of those in Victoria, right? So they want to know that you at least have an interest in that, because that means you've done your research. You know what the industry is about, right? So if you can at least say I have an interest in this thing, I've read a bunch of webinars on it, or I've watched a bunch of webinars on it, that gives you a leg up. And if they are a large organization like TD and they're using a web crawler, like a data scraper to see, out of our thousands of resumes who's a good fit, it'll pick up your words. So really good to keep in your resumes. Okay. In my 3rd year, I went to China. Officially, it was to study Chinese. I was really, really lonely there. I had no friends. And so I recreated the UVic Web Dev and Design Club because it was awesome, and so I wanted to have the same experience, and it was really successful. So we had the Shanghai Web Dev and Design Club, and it ran until 2017, and the last time I checked, it has 920 members. So other people took it over, obviously, when I left China, because I was only there for 5 months, but it was really cool. It was something that people wanted. And towards the end of it, I had one of the early members of the club approach me, and he was like, hey, let's make a business. And I didn't know what I was doing, so I was like, sure, that sounds like a great idea. It was not, but that's okay. Yeah, so I went for it, because again, to Vero's point, take every opportunity. Specifically, I would say, take opportunities that are not highly risky. I had nothing to lose by doing this. I was already taking a year off. I was going to get paid because that's what the founder decided to do. And I didn't have to invest any of my own money, which is good because I didn't have any. I was a student and I spent it all on traveling. Duh. Yeah, so it was kind of more like I was an employee, except that I had C-level status. I got to make C-level decisions, and I got to make C-level mistakes. This was cool. It gave me freedom to go and live in San Francisco and hustle. And so it was like a platform where we were trying to teach Chinese students how to program and like have some, Chinese language and English language mixed together. And I thought it was really cool because it mixed the things that I love to do. Talking to people, tech, cross-cultural stuff. hey, I get to mix them all. It's great. What could go wrong? A lot. I really apologize if anyone speaks Chinese because I think this is a really dumb ad. I won't explain what it says, but it is. Yeah, we did everything wrong. The founders didn't know each other, and there's huge technological differences between the tools that are used in China and here, and that didn't work out. And it was different time zones, so I'd be up at 2 a.m., and that sucks. And yeah, we didn't do our market research, which is why you need a product owner. Because if we had, we would have known why this product wouldn't have worked, right? Because AKA, there's other platforms that do it much better than us. But, you know, it was a good start. We didn't have a timeline, we didn't have goals. We were just like, we're going to make a company because we want to make a company, and that's it. We're gonna get money. Like, you know, the step 1, step 2 profit thing. You guys know that meme. This was our plan. Yeah, so I do not recommend it. I do recommend making a startup. Just go for it, especially if you don't have a high risk. It's always worth it. You will always learn stuff. I learned more from doing this than I did in a lot of my degree, maybe most of it. I also learned some things. I do not like working remotely for more than a week. Not for me. I don't want to be C-level. Mic drop. In entrepreneurship, the specialization I took, that's sort of what everyone assumes you want to do with a career in startups. And I didn't. I was like, no, I've been there. It's not for me. It's not what I'm interested in. So yeah, think about that. It's really worth trying it out. If you're like, I want to be an executive. I want to be a C-level. First step, try it out before you invest significantly. Yeah, speaking to people about the company was my favorite part. And trying to see what words could I use to make them more excited and more engaged. That was really, really exciting to me. That was really successful. And yeah, I didn't like San Francisco. So we have an office down there, and I think it's great because I get to work for like a San Francisco company without actually being in San Francisco. It wasn't for me. I didn't like the culture. I found that it was really hard to be a woman in tech there. Everyone might have different experiences than me when they go down there. This was very personal to me. It didn't work. So I wasn't into it. And when I was there and I was interviewing with a tech company because I'd already figured out that this Chinese startup thing wasn't working out, I had a pretty bad experience with the CEO that I was interviewing with. So I just wasn't into it. I was ready to get out, and I did not want to be involved in it. So I came back to UVic for 3rd year. So to clarify, I took the year off between 2nd year and 3rd year in my degree. Is anyone actually doing BCom here? Yes. Are you guys core? Like 4th year, 2nd year, 3rd year? 2nd year, 1st year, 2nd, okay, cool. So in 3rd year, you do core, right? I'm sure you guys have heard of core. They like hype it up. Yeah, okay. So anyways, it's like a crash course on all the different business things you might need. And I was like, sweet, I like these things. I like strategy. I like analyzing data. I did not like super detail-oriented stuff like accounting. I also did not like operations management because I thought it was like your cog in the machine, you know? It's just how can we optimize our like manufacturing schedule with like, I was imagining warehouses and like production environments. I was like, no, that's not for me, which is super ironic because the operations management stuff is what I use all the time in my job. A lot of flowcharts, a lot of CPM diagrams. Anyone know what that is? No, okay. We're gonna go over that later, maybe if we have time. Yes? No, okay. Sweet, yeah, so super ironic, but hey, sometimes you don't know. Yeah, so after the whole San Francisco thing and the startup thing, I was like, all right, I wanna know what type of company to work for. So again, wanted to work in tech, now as a developer. Did not want to be super early stage startup. Figured that out with the Chinese thing. That was not for me, way too stressful. Didn't like being in that kind of constantly changing over environment. So I wanted as well to find executives that I could feel safe around and that I could trust after that whole weird CEO experience. That was number 1 for me. It was the people, it was not the role. It was the company, it was not the role. On that note, quick shout out, if you guys want to know what makes a company great, go to the Ask an Expert talks, specifically the investor ones. They have the most knowledge out of anyone in terms of what are the companies like here in Victoria? Why are they successful? Why are they not successful? What to watch out for. So even if you're not in a position where you want to start your own company, go and talk to them. Like they're hugely smart. They're hugely well connected. Like they know everyone. Super worth it. And they're really cool people. Much more approachable than you would expect. They're just regular, you know, they put our pants on, all that kind of jazz. Cool. Yeah, so to that end, I worked for a company called Viatech. Does anyone know Viatech? Mm-hmm. Sweet, yeah. This is me being a bouncer. I'm not very good at it. Yeah, so I was administering the Startup Acceleration Program, and it was great. The reason I got this role was because of the startup experience I had with the Chinese company. Again, everything went wrong, like it was terrible, but I learned a lot from it, and that's what they wanted. They wanted to see the mistakes and the failure, because you learn a lot more from when things go wrong than when they go right, and you can pass on that information and learning to someone else. Yeah, so I really used that, and I also networked hard. To Veronica's point, it wasn't all like, hi, I'm Eve, like big, bold networking, because it's shy and scary and, you know, whatever. This is not what I did. I networked in ways where it was one-on-one conversations, or it was hands-on type of things, like this. Before I ever worked at Sendwithus, I came to Startup Slam, right? So it was how can I meet people in a hands-on situation where I can show my strengths and I can show that I'm interested in technology and the startup ecosystem and what developers do. I could show off that I could talk about tech and understand it deeply. Yeah. In this role, it was my first experience to the software that I mainly use in my current role, which is Salesforce. Salesforce is a hugely used product around the world. There's a conference with like 180,000 people every year just for Salesforce, and there's a lot of career opportunities within it. So I'm really glad that I got exposure to it. I also did some website updates, used some of my HTML skills from the Web Dev Club, and again, I got to make a lot of connections and learn how to talk to people. And learn how to like manipulate them, but not for evil, just for good. Yeah. So I knew people, and specifically I knew the hiring manager at Viatech before I applied, because I had gone to a bunch of events in the tech ecosystem. Even if you are not in the space where you can get a co-op, for example, at something like Viatech, there are tons of other ways to make this happen, right? Events you can go to, groups you can volunteer with to show your skills off. So I would recommend finding something like this, if you can, if you're looking for a role in tech like this. Cool. Now to my third co-op. Current company, these people were all a registration, so you should know their wonderful faces, they're amazing. And I was in a sales role. So I was, again, trying to hustle and get new leads. That was not for me so much. Cold calling is not my thing, but I loved Sendwithus, and it was everything I wanted in terms of the leadership and in terms of the company and in terms of what they do for Victoria. Like, we're all here, right? So this is cool. I loved working with the systems and doing analysis and figuring out how to make it exciting. And I got this marketing automation specialist role just as I was graduating from entrepreneurship. Sweet. Yeah. So are any of you guys interested in roles that involve like data analysis, like using your tech skills for good there? Yeah, cool. What roles do you think of when you think of roles that are like data analyst roles? Leveraging data, yeah.
I think of a lot of research roles.
Yeah.
Consumer research, but also just like technical research.
Definitely. I think, yeah, cool. So one thing that's really cool with working with the sales and marketing teams is that all the data you're looking at and all the data you're presenting will help make the business better. So you can see pretty immediate results, right? You can say, look, like, you know, we're really struggling in this area. Here's some suggestions. Here's what we can do, and then keep reporting on it. So if you're looking for KPIs for your product owners and you want to do business analysis, this is one way in which you can use those skills. It was really exciting. I loved it. So I was really glad that this marketing automation specialist role opened up. I also have a t-shirt for you. What's your, okay. I have mediums here. Sweet. Okay, sweet. If you really like yell or whatever anytime if I'm going too fast, cool. I do use my degree a lot, so if you're a BCom student or like if you're a tech student as well. But I found with my BCom degree, I used it for these things. So if you're technical, where you can really draw from is you understand system architecture. You understand what you need to do in order to make it run fast. You understand what are analytical skills, right? So for when you're doing all this type of work. However, I use my degree in my role. My degree was not very important in getting my role. In getting my role, it was the people I knew, the co-ops I did, and the extracurriculars, like the UVic Web Dev Club. All of that stuff was what got me my role. It wasn't actually my degree, I don't think. Okay, here's some advice from me. If you're technical, then you're like, duh. But if you're non-technical and you're a business student, no HTML and CSS. Every single organization needs someone who can do this. If you're looking for where to start, email templates. Like every single organization with a marketing team will be sending out HTML email templates. And if they aren't, question them, question their marketing strategy, suggest this. But like, yeah, you should know this. Excel. So again, in my role, I work with a lot of like technical like stuff. So a lot of it is building functions. And if you're like, well, I don't know if I want to work with Salesforce, like, there's billions of CRM, well, not billions, there's a few CRMs out there that people use, CRM being customer relationship management software, by the way. Excel can transfer over in terms of how those functions are built to like pretty much any of them. So if you know Excel functions, you can pretty much transfer into Salesforce functions really easily. It's very helpful to pick up. Yeah, you don't have to learn all the crazy finance functions, unless you're looking for a finance role. So if you're looking to go deeper into business analysis, that works. But just understanding like basic functions and also how to find them, like how to be good at Googling in order to go online, pull someone else's function apart and put it back together into your own kind of thing. Also LinkedIn, I think this is pretty obvious. I would stalk you on LinkedIn, not in a creepy way. If you're an SDR, you stalk people for a living, but like also hiring managers do that. They just won't tell you. I think you guys already know this because I can just tell from the room, but like wearing a formal suit to a startup is a bit weird, so don't do it. Also, don't be this guy. I saw a lot of this kind of stuff in San Francisco. I'm just kidding. San Francisco's great, but yeah, don't be this. Be humble, basically, particularly in Victoria. Victoria companies are, I would say, very humble in how they talk about themselves. Know how to write a good cold email, even if you don't want to work in sales. If you're trying to pitch yourself to a company, that's a cold email. So you need to know how to be short and concise. You need to be able to say, this is what's in it for you. This is how I know you, right? So like, hey, I met you at this event. I know that you guys are looking for X, right? Like, this is how I can offer that. This is how I can be useful to you. And make it a really short ask. Like, can you spare 15 minutes for coffee is much better than like, can you buy my product or can you hire me? That's a pretty big ask, right? Hard for someone to say yes to. Okay, a few things about my role in particular. I'll go through these pretty quickly. It's more just if you're looking for afterwards, if you're curious about the role. So I use Salesforce, as I said. This is the primary software I support. I have some stickers here. If you guys want to take them home, check it out on your own, see what career opportunities are available. You can be a developer within Salesforce. You can be pure business. You can do analysis, technical architecture. People make a lot of money if they know Salesforce skills. And it's quite high in demand in the business world right now. So yeah, again, CRMs, like there's a bunch of other ones out there, but this is the biggest one, so it kind of applies to all of them. Yeah, Trailhead is like the tutorials. It's really good if you want to be a Salesforce admin. The blog I put there is awesome, and you can get schooling for this. Like there's educational programs. Often employers will pay you to go to them. Yes?
What sorts of requirements do you need to get into Salesforce?
None. No. So yeah, you don't need any requirements. You can learn everything online for free. The certifications are helpful sometimes if you're getting a job. So I didn't need certification to get my job. Sendwithus wasn't looking for it. But the fact that I had pre-existing skills in Salesforce is what got it for me. And I will say if you are a business student or you're technically inclined but maybe not looking to be a hard developer, this is something that like pretty much every company needs, right? If you have a sales team, you need Salesforce. If you have a marketing team, you need Salesforce Pardot, which is another thing. Maybe not those tools, but if you know one, you know all of them, right? That was a great question. I have a t-shirt for you. T-shirt size? Medium. If I have no more mediums, are you okay with a large? Okay, cool. That's a large. These, by the way, are vintage Hack With Us. The vintage battle snake, if you know that. I'll just leave this here for you. Okay, and I'm going to put these stickers too in the front. If you guys are curious about it, LinkedIn me. One reason I wanted to give this talk is because I don't really have a lot of people that I work with. I don't have anyone in my direct team who does exactly what I do. So I can't be like, did I do this right? Like, is this how I should do it? So I rely on the community. I rely on my connections who work at other companies. And so if there's more of us in Victoria, like right now they're pretty much all outsourced to Vancouver, which I think is sad. So if you guys become Salesforce admins or CRM admins, if it's not Salesforce, that's awesome. It makes us all more knowledgeable. Okay, I'm not pitching Salesforce, it's just the tool I use. So replace it in your head with CRM if you're like, why is she saying Salesforce? Veronica, the queen of user requirements gathering, will tell you, go ham on it. Learn it really, really well. People will tell you they want one thing, but what they need is something entirely different. So the strategy I use for this with working with internal customers is, let's say they know what action they want to take on a lead. They know how they want that communicated, but they don't know the best way to do it. So you have to dig super deep. So you can do this with user stories. Like, as a persona, I'm looking to solve for what pain so that I can get these benefits, right? So as a sales rep, I'm looking to see my leads faster so I can close deals faster. Or, you don't want leads to slip through the cracks. And like, what will make them accept this? What means that, yes, this project is done? Why are we doing this now, right? Why are we choosing this project over another project? Sweet. Okay, another thing really good to learn is project estimation. There are a bunch of different ways to do this. One of them is agile project estimation, usually used for agile software teams. Really depends on what team you're in, right? So I tried agile, like totally agile for my role, but it didn't work because all my stakeholders were sales and marketing users, and they don't do agile. And if you try and explain it to them, they just get question marks. So agile didn't work for me. So I had to figure out a different way of doing project estimation that I could communicate with my end users and with my stakeholders. But again, it depends. If you're in a technical team, like pretty much most technical teams I see nowadays use agile. We use agile. So it's really great to know. But like, if you're just starting out and you're working on any project, even a school project, you can think about, have you done something similar in the past? Is this really risky? Like, how much do I know about this project or this thing that I'm trying to build? Is it reliant on other people? Are they going to hold me up because they're really slow for whatever reason? And what do these factors translate to in terms of time? So, is this going to take me tons of effort and therefore tons of time? Days, weeks, months. Put it in the perspective that your stakeholders will understand. Get really good at flowcharts. Draw.io is a free Google flowchart builder. I use whiteboards all the time. And it's your friend. It's a really good way to display information. In system architecture, it gets so complicated, and all the different things are fitting together, and then you have to figure out how the users fit into it. So this is really helpful to know. Okay. I also do a lot of vendor management. So vendor management is one of the hardest things that I do, and it's one of the things that I fail at the most. I'll often find that we entered into a contract for a particular piece of software, and then be like, it doesn't do what we want, and we're stuck in this contract for 2 years, and that sucks. So being able to early on identify how you can fix sort of that vendor cycle and how you can make it better is a huge win for companies. If they have you on your team, and you're really good at vendor management, you're going to be a big bonus for them. Condensing info. If you are in a role where you have to disseminate information, so say you are doing DevOps, right? Or you're doing sales and marketing operations. You're going to be taking in all of the new information about the softwares you support. You're going to have to condense it and spit it back out to your stakeholders because they won't read the whole thing. Side note, anyone interested in DevOps or know what DevOps is? Yes, cool. Someone want to tell me? Any other answers? Yeah. Yeah. Both really good answers. Please feel free to come up. I have notebooks and stuff too. Yeah, so it's very similar to what I kind of do, but for the developer teams, right? So it's sort of making sure that you're this in-between character, everything is staying alive, fitting together nicely, integrations are going well, really, really transferable to what I'm talking about. Okay, retros, any project you do, you should add in retros. If you're a product owner, you should do retros. If you have internal customers, you should do retros. If you're just doing it by yourself, still do retros, always good. Also be really strict with your time. So it is like super far scoped if you're in this type of role, and people will always ask for more energy than you can give them. You will also forget what you did, so make sure you document it. And you can make a skeleton for documentation, so just like filling out all the project objectives, and then you can say what you actually did to them. In terms of my next education, I'm looking for technical certifications personally. This all depends on what you're looking to do, but this is sort of my next strategy. So like PMP, maybe Agile, something like that. There is the Salesforce certifications. I've also included some Salesforce-specific skills, if that is something that you're like, hey, this seems like it could be a cool career for me. And lastly, I do have a challenge we can do if people don't have Q&A questions. So I'll come back to that if we want to do that. But basically, how do you spec out a project when you haven't done it before and when you don't know what's involved? Okay, first part, questions. So do you guys have questions about Salesforce? Or like I mentioned, there's different diagramming techniques like flow charts, technical-ish, I'll say, because I'm not a developer. Does anyone have questions like that? And I can turn on the Slido. Questions? Okay, confusing. Fortnite, all right. One class I took at UVic. Okay, this is a great question. So their interest in entrepreneurship take before core year. If you don't mind shouting on the audience, who asked this? Kieran. Yes. So entrepreneurship, I think that really depends what industry you're interested in. Are you interested in like the tech kind of software startup industry? Cool. And your background was technical or business? BCom? Okay, cool. I would take computer science class. I took CSC 105. If you're interested in working for a tech startup, that will give you those basic HTML and Excel skills that I mentioned as being really helpful. So that's what I would take. I would also, if that doesn't work, like with your schedule or anything, there's another one, I forget the name, but it's also related to web development. I can talk to you after and I can actually look at my schedule if you want and see what that was. Both super helpful for me in my career. It gave me that little boost up when I was looking at tech startups. Or the Web Dev Club, right? Like you can learn everything online, so it's really just like, I'm stuck, how do I fix it, is where you run into problems. Yeah, that was awesome. I have a t-shirt, it's here. Okay, boom, I'll put that there. I'll get that. Okay, any more questions? Cool, okay. I also want to know, like, if you guys just have any, general questions after this, so like career-related questions, sort of, anything about sort of how I use these strategies in order to get this role. Yeah.
What do you see your role being like in the long term with Sendwithus? Are you looking to sort of advance, or what? You mentioned that you're not interested in sort of the C-level type of stuff, but where do you want to go?
Yeah. That's a really great question, thank you. So one thing I really like about this role for someone who's really early on in my career is that it's incredibly broad. So it has aspects of project management, product management, it's technical. So I'm still trying to figure that out largely, but probably I would go one of two ways. I would look to either go more into the strategic side, so like a project manager or a product owner of something, or go hard into the Salesforce side. So become like a technical sort of like a Salesforce expert, right? Because you can do consulting with that, you can work for large organizations or small organizations with that. It has a lot of flexibility as well. So I might go one of those areas, but you can do a lot out of it. You can do business intelligence out of this starting point. You can do be a business analyst out of this starting point. You can just be an integration specialist, like that's a job. So yeah, does that sort of answer your question?
It does.
Yeah. Yes. I took a year off. So between second year and third year core, I took a year off. Are you in BCom?
No, I'm in engineering.
Okay, you could still, yeah, so I took a year off. If you have the resources to do that, super great. Because I was studying at UVic, I got a deal with the partner school. So I have a certificate in Chinese language and culture from UVic, so I did some Chinese classes, and that's what helped me get into the school in China. But I just took a year off. Yeah, straight up. Any other questions? Yeah.
You mentioned Agile. I was just wondering, what are some of the biggest keys or techniques that you would recommend if people are just getting into Agile and they don't really know about like the big major shortfalls?
I think the most useful thing that I learned that I would say is a starting off point is learn relative estimation. So what that means is you're like, okay, we have 20 things that we're trying to get done in this project. What do we do first, right? So if you got your funding cut off at any point, what would be the things that you'd want to start on? And how you can do relative estimation, like at a very broad level, is like, do I care about this more or this? Which one? And then do that with every item in your list. And then there's a bunch of stuff relating to points and stuff like that. There's really great videos online for relative estimation with Agile. Yeah, more questions? No? No? Okay, awesome. So if you guys are interested, we can go over a technique that I use for figuring out these big projects using a critical path method diagram. So just imagine like if you're in a sales or marketing organization, you have a big project, you can think about like I'm starting from point A, I need to get all the way to point B, how can I map out those components in a visual way? So that's something we can do. We can also talk about if you guys have questions around, again, anything I talked about here, so like resume stuff, I think it would be cool if we just interacted in small groups for that. But if you guys are all interested as well in like learning, for example, CPM in one group, we can talk about that, depending on time. Yeah?
You said no photos.
Oh. Like, I mean like a picture of your face. I just find that it's really not done so much in the context here in the startup environment. So people get a little thrown off. And this is just my hypothesis, right? I have nothing to back this up, but my sense is that, again, because we're sort of like humble Canadian culture, that people might think it's not fitting with that sort of humble image. Yeah, definitely in Europe they do it, definitely in Asia they do it. And it could be changing, right? Things change all the time, but from my experience, photos generally aren't done. That's what your LinkedIn's for. Because as soon as someone gets your resume, I guarantee you they will go on LinkedIn. Any other questions? I'd like the questions more. Let's keep going with that. Yeah.
So you mentioned
Yeah.
do you think that's the way for a lot of companies to offload that work?
No. So actually, that was a role in TD. So the what do they call it? They called it like a junior something or other. Basically, that was an HR role. I just got to do a co-op in it. It wasn't like they would take co-ops on to do that role. They mostly had full-time employees doing it. So the job was something about coordinator. I don't actually remember the title. It was a while ago. But yeah, I scheduled the interviews. I helped out the people. Like I helped out the recruiters, right? So anything the recruiters needed, I did. Part of that was shortlisting resumes. That was the bulk of the work. And I just happened to do it for the co-op portfolio. So all of my candidates were co-op students, but they also had people in the exact same role as me doing it for other portfolios, other departments. Yes. Any more questions? Cool, okay. I just checked the time and it looks like the Q&A, which is great. I think it's taken up a lot of the time to do that sort of technical diagram, so I won't launch you all into it because we won't get that far. If anyone does want to come and go over it, feel free to come up on the board with me and we can just draw it out. But I don't think it's quite enough time for us to launch into it super in depth. Cool, okay. Well, thank you so much. Please keep your questions coming if you have any. Otherwise, I really appreciate you talking with me. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any follow-up questions. If you're curious about the stuff, take some stickers. Yeah, and enjoy the rest of the conference. I'm super excited to see what all of you will do with your careers.